was cast first between the two of you?
Me.
And what was it like waiting to find out who would play Christian?
It was really nerve-wracking, actually. Like, especially like when there's so much pressure from the fans waiting to hear, and it's like, who's it gonna be? And I remember like we read with a few people, and no one really seemed quite right. Like they were all amazing actors and just really, really good, but it didn't really fit. And then when we finally met Dom, it was like, oh, this
there
is
we
it.
go.
This feels right. Like it was just such an obvious choice. As soon as we were reading together, I was like, yeah, this is what
that's very nice. I was so late as well. Like I was the last person to be cast.
Yeah.
So I got cast, got offered the part the day after I met these guys. And then weirdly, actually, I thought I'd blown it. I thought I'd completely messed it up. So I went out and had a couple of drinks that night and like didn't go into work because I was a little depressed. And then Mark personally rang me the next day and said, dude, we're going to offer you the part. And I was hungover and I was like, are you kidding? And he was like, no, seriously. I was like, oh wow, that's amazing. So and then it was like 3 days and straight into the table read and hair and costume and makeup and stuff. So
what did you do that made you think you didn't get it?
it's not, I don't tend to walk out of an audition going, yeah, I nailed that, don't worry about it. I tend to walk out and go, oh, I could have done this, or I could have done that, or whatever. And Mark is the sort of person who, now having worked with him, I know, but Mark is the sort of person who, when he sees what he wants and it's there in front of him, he just goes, cool, see you later. And so I did 6 auditions for Christian, and 6 times he went, all right, that's all right, see you later. And then I walked out and I was like, well, that's not a good reaction to have. So it's kind of, but having worked with him, we now know that it's like, oh, he's happy then. That's what happiness is for Mark.
There was so much debate around the Christian character because everyone has so many different ideas about what they wanted Christian to be. But Mark was so good in that he saw in Dom that Dom was the perfect Christian. He wouldn't give up. Like everyone, like the producers were fighting about, what kind of Christian should it be? And then when we finally got to read with Dom and have us together, everyone was like, oh, of course. Like,
right.
And I think that maybe you felt like you'd done it because you were just a little bit nervous.
I was absolutely petrified.
But like the thing was, we could all see that you were just a little bit nervous, and we could see straight through it that you were like such a good actor and like just so perfect for it. And so it was
That's very nice. And it's chemistry is so important as well, because it's not only do they work together, but it's the first time that as an actor you've actually had the other actor there and when they're good, you're good, and it all just kind of sits and works perfectly. So to be able to do my chemistry with Lucy and Zoe as opposed to with a casting director, or as great as they are, is actually Reg Edgerton, who saw me, and he's one of the better ones because he kind of acts on the other side with you, but this is actually Lissa talking to me from the other side of the camera now. So that's when, for me, kind of, I tried to put the nerves in the back of my mind and be like, right, okay, let's do this. Let's kind of get it done. So, yeah, I have Lucy and Zoe to thank as much as anyone.
Is there any first date, blind date awkwardness the first time you two come together and have to do this?
There is a bit because you know where it's going to go. It's like, it's not like in a first date where you're like, what's this going to be? It's like, we know
we're gonna
our characters are going to get together, so it's like, and it was actually in some ways really good that we got it over with on the first day, because we're like, all right, that's behind us now, we can just chill. Yeah,
because day 2 we did the first kiss, or it actually ends up being the last kiss in the movie, but we did our first kiss, and as Lucy says, I think it's a good thing that it was over kind of at the beginning, because then there was no
like, what's it gonna be like?
There was no anticipation, it wasn't worrying, it was just, and then we fell into it kind of very easily, and we've got a great relationship between us because it's very light, very jovial, and we're always laughing with each other, so it never became like, I'd say for 2 hours before we did it that first day, I was a bit like, oh my god, what's going to happen?
And Dom's such a gentleman, he was being so sweet and just like, and it's making me feel really relaxed and calm, but underneath it we were both like, oh my god, we're about to do something.
Yeah, what do we do? And then Mark was like, we were doing kind of a dancing bit between us, and then Mark comes up and goes, we're going to do some kissing now, guys. And I remember looking at you going, okay,
so,
cool.
Am I really that scary?
No, but it worked out really well, and it was something that by the end we were so comfortable, we were kind of doing it in rehearsal, and it all just, it was just very easy to do.
What would you guys say to people who aren't familiar with the book and are looking at this and your relationship in particular and going, oh, like another vampire relationship? Like, why are we doing this again? What makes you two special in this movie?
Well, I don't think it doesn't feel like another vampire relationship because it doesn't really, our relationship doesn't have anything to do with the vampire element. It's just about two people who really connect. And I think the thing with Christian and Lissa is there's so much fire between them because they're almost bonded by their pain. Like they meet because they're hiding from the rest of the world because they've both gone through so much that they need to retreat to the attic of the church, and they both just happen to be hiding from
everything.
And that's kind of what fuses them together, is that they relate to each other because they can feel each other's loss but find happiness from that, and by being together they can face the world and be stronger together.
It's I think what separates it from a vampire relationship or a conventional vampire relationship is it's what...
Isn't it kind of scary that there is a such thing as a conventional vampire relationship now?
But I feel like this is what regular people should want to find in a relationship. A kindred spirit who is dealing with the same sort of things and has the same sort of problems, and they really fall in love with each other because of who they both are and how much they appreciate like each other. So I feel like it's something that a normal person should want. It's not because they're vampires, it's not because they found each other, because how these two have been brought up, they're very aware of vampires, like it's kind of a normal thing to them. So it's not like, and I don't want to denounce it in any way because they both do a great job, but it's not the Kristen Stewart, Robert Pattinson, because that is excitement that she's found, oh my god, he's a vampire. Like that's not what this is, because these two, we know we're vampires. Like it's
that the characters have found the person that they're meant to be with.
Right. So it's that, and that's what makes kind of a couple of the twists and turns in the story from this one so difficult for both of us. So
Sorry, I'm a woman.
but it's nice to kind of portray a genuine love and a genuine appreciation for another person.
And you two seem like very happy, friendly people. Is it tough to tap into that side of these two characters? Because they've been through some pretty tough stuff.
It's actually a lot of fun to play the opposite, to go into a place that's a lot darker and not tortured, but a lot going through a lot. It's playing characters that have a lot of weight on them it's actually really fun when you do it from a playful place.
Yeah, I think it's quite cathartic actually for me, like sort of coming on set and being really down or really angry or even crying. I can walk off set that day and be like, man, I feel great all of a sudden. Like I feel awesome. That's
you let it out in your art, and then you never need to let it out in your life.
Right, completely. And it's even if we're doing some of the bigger stuff that's really dark and kind of the ending and all that sort of stuff, I would sit in my trailer, and that's quite deep and quite intense. So it's I would sit in my trailer and get into it, and probably even still be, because we did it for like 3-4 days, so still be in it for like half when I get home and like running through it in my head and kind of putting myself in that place. But as Lucy says, it's not difficult. It's not, well, it is difficult in the same way that all acting is difficult, that you've got to put yourself in that frame of mind, but no more or less than pretending to be happy or pretending to be like sad or whatever it is, It was
quite hard for me. There are some scenes where Lissa is going through a lot in terms of absorbing this toxic energy, the effects of her powers. And when we were doing a few days of shooting these scenes where Lissa's going crazy, I found it so hard in my own life to separate from that, and I found myself sometimes just not being able to make decisions because I was feeling so just
kind of manic.
I went a little bit manic for a while because I couldn't separate that, and that's something I want to get better at in the future.
I think that's where it's really important to be as close as like we are and everyone is with the rest of the cast, because then
support each other.
Yeah, and when you kind of really know each other as well, you can come off set and be like, "She don't seem right now. Like, what's going?" And we can really kind of bounce off each other. So yeah.
On a much lighter note, can you tell me about the process of getting fitted for fangs?
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah,
I have a fear of the dentist, so I think about that, and I'm like, like a mold in your mouth.
Yeah, it's a dentist. That's what it is. It is a dentist chair. It is like a braces fitting. They put this gum in. tastes awful. Like, but it was my fault because he was like, "Don't touch it with your tongue," and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna touch it like 100%." So, and I was like, "Oh no, he was right. That was gross." And then you just have to sit there with your mouth up and this thing in for like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, just sitting dead still, like not moving, not anything, breathing through your nose and stuff. So it was kind of horrible, but.
And to wrap up,
Yeah, it's fun to know.
if you could go on the convention center floor dressed up as anything as you want, what would it be?
Oh, good one.
Arwen from Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
It's so
really good one.
appropriate. I
I
can
love
see it.
her. Or Galadriel.
It would be a superhero. It would be all spandex. It would be one of those guys. Maybe Spider-Man. I don't know. I'm not sure. That's come out of the blue. I like that. That was a tricky question. Good on you.